to this. I'll start over. Hi, everyone. My name is John Brown, and I'm the Dean of the School of Architecture, Planning and Landscape at the University of Calgary. And welcome to our first information session on our new Bachelor of Design in City Innovation degree. I want to start by recognizing the traditional territories of the people of Treaty 7 in southern Alberta and recognize their contribution to the stewardship of the land on which we live, work, and play for many thousands of years. The Treaty 7 group includes the Blackfoot Confederacy, comprising the Siksika, the Piikani and Kainai First Nations, as well as the Tsuut'ina First Nation and the Stoney Nakoda, including the Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Wesley First Nations. I also note that the city of Calgary is home to Métis Nation of Alberta Region 3. I'm sure you've seen traditional acknowledgements or heard traditional acknowledgements in the past, and they are becoming a more standard part of education and culture in general. They have particular meaning in our world, in the world of city building, in the world of design, in the world of architecture, planning, and landscape, because we share a common interest in stewardship of the land. And there is so very much that we are indebted to as settlers for the stewardship of the land over thousands of years, and also very much that we can learn from Indigenous ways of knowing that will certainly help us to get out of the difficulties that we find ourselves in contemporary culture with climate change and the rest. I'll talk a little bit about that later, but certainly Indigenous ways of knowing and truth and reconciliation around indigenization is a critical part of the School of Planning, Landscape, School of Architecture, Planning and Landscape. You'd think I'd get the name right. And also of the BDCI degree. So I'm going to share my screen and get started. You'll have noticed that it said, it flashed up on the screen that the presentation is being recorded, just so that all of you know it is being recorded, so that either you or and others will be able to refer to it at a later date. And so let me just bring this up and get started. There. So we've already gone through this. I'm going to talk to you for about half an hour, and then I'll pass it off to Madison, who will speak for a little bit, and then we'll have a question and answer period, and that will be monitored so that we can keep everything straight. So the agenda today, I'm going to talk a little bit about SAPL, the School of Architecture, Planning and Landscape. I'm going to give an introduction to what we call the BDCI, the Bachelor of Design in City Innovation, talk about the key program features, the course structure, some topics, the program structure, career pathways, what you do when you leave us, admission requirements, the student experience, and then how to connect with our school, and then open it up for questions and answers. So the School of Architecture, Planning and Landscape is, at this point in time, a graduate school that trains architects, planners, and landscape architects for practice. So we have 3 course-based professional degrees that lead to licensure in those 3 programs. Until fall of 2023, and for the past 50 years, we've celebrated our 50th anniversary last year. Those people coming out of high school that wanted to become an architect, a planner, or a landscape architect would either go into a Bachelor of Science or Bachelor of Arts and do something for 4 years until they could come to us, or they would go somewhere else in the country. The main reason, or one of the main reasons, that we started the Bachelor of Design in City Innovation, and from now on I'll call it BDCI for short, is to address that shortfall, that gap between graduating grade 12 and starting a master's program in architecture, planning, and landscape. I will say that all of the programs in landscape architecture and architecture to become licensed are graduate degrees. You need an undergraduate degree first. In planning, there are a few undergraduate degrees, but really we think that it's better to have an undergraduate degree first to get an understanding of the whole piece. So that's why we started the BDCI. But what are we about as the School of Architecture, as SAPL? I'll say SAPL from now on. What we're interested in is making a difference. We're interested in making a difference in the built environment. If we think about the three big issues that are facing the world right now, climate change, social inequity, and disease resilience, all of those have to do with our relationship with the built environment. Building climate change, obviously, in terms of the amount of the carbon footprint of the buildings and the neighborhoods that we've created, and how do we reduce that? Social inequity, the sort of structural racism that exists in neighborhoods with no sidewalks and no access to fresh food, where there is inequity in terms of access to urban amenities, and on and on. And then, of course, disease resilience. We've all seen that with the way in which our whole economy had to shut down because the shops and offices that we were in were not able to manage any kind of infectious disease outbreak. So I really believe that the best time to be in the design of cities business is right now, and maybe it's ever since the Renaissance. It is the time when these problems are red hot, the earth is on fire, literally, and we are here to provide solutions to help solve those burning issues through the relationship of people to the built environment. So let me move on to the degree itself.
Welcome to a distinctly different design school experience. Community engaged, performance-driven, entrepreneurial, impact-oriented, and future-focused. We are training leaders to become catalysts for positive local and global change so that you can learn how to develop solutions to help solve some of the world's great problems.
Even me?
Really? Yes, definitely you. Through challenge-based learning, collaborations with industry, building and prototyping solutions, we are expanding the idea of what it means to be a designer. With bold thinking for the built environment, for sustainability, for equity, for health, for vibrancy, cities made for people and the good of the planet. It's not going to be easy, but you can make change happen. You can change the world. You can create the future of city building.
We're very proud of that video. And I will say that it was shot over the course of 2 days with students that are already in our program, in our graduate degree programs, doing the things that they normally do. That none of that was staged. It was all just the way in which our students are working in our school, and the film crew just came in and took pictures of it. So if that's the sort of thing that you want to do, both in school and with your life, then we are the place for you. So our Bachelor of Design of City Innovation, our BDCI, is addressed to people that want to make a better world, a place that's healthier, more vibrant, sustainable, and equitable. What we will do is give you a design-based framework. We'll give you tools and skills for thinking about the world as a designer so that you can understand the challenges that it faces and also have an understanding about how you can create positive change in that built environment through city-focused solutions that are inclusive and sustainable. So how do we do that? This is not about sitting in a classroom listening to boring lectures, nor is it about sitting in a classroom listening to amazing lectures, which is the ones we have. We have a hands-on studio-based learning model where in the mornings you take classes and in the afternoons, excuse me, you work in the studio, in the design studio on projects, either alone or in small groups, often real world projects, sometimes with real clients, where you are developing your skills, where you're taking the things that you learned in the morning in the classroom into the practice, into world. That kind of hands-on experiential learning is key to learning how to be a designer. It's key to what you do as an architect, a planner, or a landscape architect. And I have to tell you, as someone who's spent my life in it, it's an exciting opportunity. We also have cross-cultural opportunities where we are exposing our students to different ways of thinking, different ways of knowing. I've already talked about Indigenous ways of knowing, but there are great cultural differences in the way in which cities are made, in the way in which cities are lived in, and it's important as a global citizen and as someone who's going to practice in a global context to understand what those are, to see what are the differences and what are the opportunities and where are there things that we can learn from. We have study abroad programs, we have field trips, and we bring people in from around the world to come and share their learnings with us. Obviously, just like every other discipline, there are advanced digital design tools. You saw many of them in the video, robots and GIS and modeling tools. We live in that world of digital design, and you will learn how to use all of those tools in order to be able to express your design ideas. We have courses in data science. Again, we believe that the world is data, and everyone needs to have a grounding in that, whether you're a planner, an architect, a landscape architect, or whether you go into a different career like being a lawyer, social work, or starting a business. Data science is key. Also, entrepreneurship. University of Calgary is the entrepreneurial university, and innovative change, it's not just change, it's innovation, and often innovation is entrepreneurial. That doesn't mean creating some startup that's going to become Facebook and making a gazillion dollars. It can be social entrepreneurship. It's about how to think about doing something that hasn't been done before. How do we do something? If there's a famous story that Henry Ford, the man that invented the car, said, well, if I only asked people what they wanted, they would have just said faster horses. And he imagined a different world of cars. And for better or ill, right now, probably largely for ill, given our climate change situation, he transformed the world through the will of an idea and the ability to make it real. And then, of course, obviously, there's a key amount of attention paid to sustainability. How can we reduce the environmental footprint of the way in which we live in the cities in which we live? And of course, Calgary is a great example of how the structure of our city is actually working against our ability to adapt to climate change and reduce our environmental footprint. We live in a very spread out city where it's really not feasible to have an effective mass transportation system other than the LRT, which takes people from their home to their office and back again, but very difficult to move crosswise because we've created a city that's been designed around the car. And so that is a problem that's been created by the nature of the built environment, and the solution is going to have to come out of that same world of the built environment of cities. And then, of course, we're going to provide you with a broader perspective that sparks innovation for the betterment of communities and science and society. So if you're interested in becoming an architect, a licensed planner, or a landscape architect, we are definitely the place. But also, if you think you might be interested in another kind of city building related career in business, law, public policy, social work, or entrepreneurship, the BDCI may also be for you, because we can provide you with that core understanding of the relationships of how cities and people work together. How do you think like a designer to be creative? And then you can take that into all sorts of other arenas as your career. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. So the key program features that we have, this is actually our Barcelona program. That's the Barcelona Pavilion, which if you come to our school, you'll learn about. One of the most famous 20th century buildings. Those are our students on their study abroad program, enjoying themselves in a very world famous building. We're looking to drive city building innovation, and we use Calgary as our laboratory in which to look at that. I've talked already about studio-based learning. Everybody is assigned a desk. You have a workspace for the term in which you're able to set up, and we expect you to be there a lot to take on your studio-based exercises. It's kind of like an art studio in that case. We take on real projects and we utilize advanced tools, as I've already talked about. So do you want a career that makes a difference? I think for the high school students that I speak to, the answer is a resounding yes. You are inheriting a world that has a world of problems. And I apologize on behalf of my generation for our contribution to messing things up. And you are the generation that is going to fix that. If it's going to be fixed, it needs to be fixed quickly. It needs to be fixed in your lifetime. And you need to learn how to do that. And I think basically we're going to get to the point where almost everyone is going to have to be thinking about how do they have a career that makes a difference in that realm of climate change and social equity. So we're going to give you the design skills so that you can learn, create and prototype objects, buildings, city structures, and landscape projects. We're going to show you and give you experience in how to make decisions in complex situations that are incomplete and change over time, that have multiple people, multiple interests that you're trying to negotiate within, how to use strategic approaches to problem solve and incorporate that idea of critical and multi-scalar insights. So it's multi-scalar means from the scale of the individual to the group. It means from the scale of a chair to a city, or to a region, all of those scales in between, to be able to analyze problems and create creative, innovative interventions. So our courses are going to position you to be able to develop solutions that address global issues, as I've said, to creating sustainable constructed environments, which are both natural and physical, reduce systemic racism, colonial discrimination against Indigenous culture, for example, but there are also many other forms of systemic racism for people with colors, sexual orientation and gender, and then improving quality of life through vibrant public spaces and economic vitality. So studio learning, this is the cool part, is working in groups, working with your classmates in a room with a desk and a computer where you are working. You're there for your class times, which are usually 2 afternoons a week, but the other 3 afternoons, evenings, weekends, we expect you, and you will want to be there to be able to learn. You learn more from the informal peer-to-peer learning that happens in the middle of the night when you and your friends are struggling on a problem than you will from an instructor. You learn by doing in the School of Architecture, Planning and Landscape and in the BDCI degree. We facilitate that through project work. We say, here's a park, here's a building problem, here's a community. What are we going to do to try to solve these problems? And so you're working on real world scale projects at all times. And then we collaborate as you get into your advanced degrees. We collaborate with community-based clients. So you're working with nonprofits and small community groups to help them figure out what they're doing, as well as partner organizations. The city is a large partner within our school, but so are other industry members, developers, contractors, architects, planners, landscape architects. Work integrated learning. This is something you probably have heard about, or you may have heard about. This is something that's very important across all university degrees, but this idea of getting work experience while you are learning, to integrate that. So we've developed our own model for that, so that you're not just job shadowing or doing something kind of peripheral, not very meaningful. We actually organize projects, real world projects with real clients, with real industry people. It might be the city, it might be a professional firm, it might be a nonprofit. And then they say, well, I'd really like to do this, but I don't have the resources within my firm to do this, or it's a competition, or it's pro bono work for an underserved community. We will provide a group of students to go and work on that project under the direction of an industry professional, so that you're learning what it's like to actually be in the real world and to work, not just being in the more rarefied air of academia. Advanced tools. We have a great robotics lab. We have 3D printers. You saw a big 3D printer with a 6-foot high 3D printer. We do CNC milling, laser cutting, and as well as visualization tools with AR and VR and performance-driven modeling, where we can look not just at the aesthetics of something, but actually choose the shape of a building or the shape of an object based on its performance, its structural performance, its impact on the environment, its impact on wind, all those kinds of things. So we are a very sophisticated tool-based profession, and this is a class in structures where each student has to make up a structure that holds a particular weight. You can see it's a brick up for a particular amount of time with a certain amount. We look at efficiency, we look at effectiveness, we look at performance, but we also look at the aesthetics of how elegantly has it been done. This is not just engineering. It incorporates engineering, but in a much broader sense. So the course structure, we have a few theme or areas of courses. There's studio, design, graphics, visualization. So every term you take a studio course. So over the course of the 4 years, you'll take 8 if you're in one of our pre-professional streams, 6 otherwise. Several design, graphics, and visualization tools, and then introductory technical courses, one in planning, looking at urban infrastructure, landscape ecology, and building science, so that you've got a literacy in all of our disciplines, even if you decide to go into one. Well, you will decide to go into one or the other, or you'll go off into an ancillary curve, but you'll have the key language and understanding to be able to have a rapport with other design professionals. We also have a global citizenship suite of courses where you'll learn about critical thinking, history, understanding of the environmental, social, technological, historical, and economic forces that drive city building, and have an understanding of the sort of theory and the world of ideas behind what is actually physically in front of you and that you're working with within studio. We have the data science courses, which I've talked about, and then we have specialty courses. You take 2 courses in sustainability studies, which actually, if you desire, you can extend into a sustainability certificate by taking a few other courses as part of your electives, or you can take you will, as a required course, take a course in entrepreneurial thinking, but you can extend that into a certificate in entrepreneurial thinking if you desire. So our program structure is it's 4 years. There's a 120 unit degree. Standard is the same as a Bachelor of Science, Bachelor of Arts. And there's a common core of courses that you take, which is the first 2.5 years. Everybody takes the same courses. And in that last 1.5 years, you have an option to either complete a concentration in architecture or landscape architecture, which will give you direct admission make you eligible for direct admission into the architecture and landscape architecture graduate degrees that we offer or are offered across the country. You can take a minor program, which would be a minor in data science, a minor in public health, in law and society, in urban studies, in public health, in business administration, if you wanted to build a career in a related field. And then, of course, you can have those certificates that I talked about. There are electives that allow you to craft an individualized learning experience in addition to the core, and that those concentrations are minor. And then everyone takes a work integrated learning course and caps off their degree with a capstone project that you get to choose the content of that aligns with your area of interest. So I think I've covered this already, and just in the interests of time, I'll carry on. Career pathways, you'll have a strong foundation to pursue a variety of career and academic pathways, both locally and internationally. You may decide to become a licensed architect or landscape architect, or go in with a Master of Architecture or Master of Landscape Architecture degrees. These are 2-year graduate programs. They're offered in multiple places across the country. We think ours is particularly strong. And you then move as your first step towards licensure as an architect or a landscape architect. And you do that by virtue of the concentration. You can also decide to be a planner, a licensed planner. That is also a 2-year degree, and you take a customized program of study depending on what kind of planner you might want to be. If you're interested in big data and the metrics of the way cities evolve, you might take a minor in data science. If you're interested in people, maybe a degree in social work or public health. If you're interested in the legal aspects of governance and framework, maybe you'll take law and society, and might even think about a dual degree in law. And then, of course, there are city innovation careers that don't involve our 3 professions. You can go into law, social work, public policy, public health, business, data science, if you take an advanced degree, or you can direct entry into a city building related career in the private, public, or nonprofit sectors, such as being a public arts manager, a market research analyst, a social programs advisor, a neighborhood resource coordinator, a community development officer, an engagement coordinator, policy analyst, a sustainability specialist, a green building analyst. There are so many careers. The world is urbanizing. 68% of the world's population lives in cities. That number is going to increase substantially in the next 50 years. More people are living in cities. Cities are where the problems are, but they're also where the solutions are. And there are an explosion of opportunities for jobs for careers, meaningful careers that make a difference within city building. So student experience, it's a lot of fun. As I said, you kind of live at the school. There's a lot of studio work that goes on. We do have lounges with exercise bikes and foosballs machines and a piano and that sort of thing. So it's meant to also be a fun place. We have a number of extracurricular activities every month. We have a Design Matters lecture series where we bring in a world-class practitioner to come and share their learning. We do community-based service learning projects. Next week, a group of students will be going out to Habitat for Humanity to build a house. We do brown bag lunch talks with local professionals. We have symposia, public studio reviews where we invite this local professionals and community members in to listen to you present your project work at the end of the year. There's also the SAPL Students Association, which hosts social events, industry nights, mixers. There's yoga classes. They bring in puppies at the end of the year so that people can have a bit of a mental break. And then, of course, there's our year-end gallery exhibition. And then we have a group called Just SAPL, which is accountable for our environmental justice and racial equity programs, and to ensure that our school's culture, curriculum, outreach, hiring, and admissions are just and equitable. So down to here's a group of students putting up an exhibition in our City Building Design Lab. We are accepting applications between October 1st, 2022 and March 1st, 2023 for a September 2023 start. For high school students, placement is competitive and based upon high school grade averages and numbers. We do have a capped enrollment, so just because you meet the minimum admission requirements doesn't guarantee admission. And applicants must have obtained their diploma and achieved competitive grades in the following courses. You can see them there. And transfer students, the GPA will serve as the basis for competitive admission for those who are transferring from another undergraduate degree. You'll get much more of this information. I'm just glossing over this from our recruitment specialists, who will give you the information on how you can connect with them. So our BDCI events, this is a new thing that we are doing. It gives you a glimpse into our new program through a sample of studio-based design school learning, and it gets you to learn about our SAPL locations. So for high school students in grades 11 and 12, or those who have recently graduated, if you're interested in thinking about a BDCI degree, we invite you, first of all, to come today, or on September 25th, we have an open house that at the CBD lab. The CBD lab is the City Building Design Lab, which is downtown opposite City Hall. It is in the old main public library, the Castell building. We have a location there, so our students are working there in the heart of the action. Every student will have a time when they are working downtown and learning what that's all about. We have an exhibition gallery and we have a large event space. So you'll be doing that. On October 22nd, you're invited to come and do a studio sample class, which should be a lot of fun. One of our master studio instructors will be leading the group through a short studio project so that you get a sense of seeing what it's like to build with your hands. That will be at our Northwest campus up on the main campus in the Northwest. And then we have a City Walks program where we're going to go on a walking tours of downtown to talk to you about the built environment. And that'll be November 26th, hopefully not too chilly in the morning. So that's the event program that we've got to give you the information and the experiences that you need to see if this is something that you would like to think about as a career. So I think this is my last slide. If you have questions, you can email admissions@sapl.ucalgary.ca. You can attend an Ask Sapl session. You can request a one-on-one meeting. Happy to speak. We're very excited. This is going to be our inaugural. You would be part of our inaugural class if you're graduating this year. And we are putting together an amazing program for you, and it will just get better as time goes on. So you can change the world if you want to. We can give you the tools to do that. And I am going to end my presentation, and I'm going to hand it over to Madison.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I'm just going to share my screen here. There we go. You should be able to see my presentation now. Perfect. Okay. So yeah, that was really wonderful to hear all about. My name is Madison, and I know we already went over a little bit of the application process here or the requirements, but I am directly with the Student Recruitment Office and Admissions. So I'm really here to be able to talk about this amazing program, but also what the application process will look like for both high school and transfer students. So each year our application is open from around from around October to March. So this year it'll be open on October 1st of 2022, and it'll be open until March 1st of 2023 for fall 2023 intake, which again is the first intake for this program, which is very exciting. It's always best to apply early. So this way you just you ensure you don't miss the deadline. You have lots of time to submit the required documents, which we can talk about as well. But essentially I do recommend applying right on October 1st. So on that date, you'll be eligible to apply for your program. You'll pay the application fee, which you can see that price on the screen there. And you'll also want to provide the required documents. So this deadline or this application process is relevant for both our high school and our transfer applicants. And the required documents are just going to consist of all your unofficial and official transcripts from high school, from grade 10, 11, and 12. And then for my transfer students, also your post-secondary work. So our admission is competitive, and it's based on 5 specific grade 12 courses in terms of high school entrance applicants. And for the Bachelor of Design and City Innovation, we did see those list of courses on the previous slide. I do want to emphasize that those are the requirements in the Alberta curriculum. So you saw the 30-1, essentially what that means is our grade 12 curriculum. So we need to see English, pre-calculus mathematics, a social studies 12 or equivalent, and one of either physics, chemistry, or biology. And again, these are all at the grade 12 level. The average of these 5 courses is going to be what makes up your competitive admission average. So it's not going to be your entire grade 12 year, but rather the average of those 5 required courses. And this should be in the mid-80s for the BDCI. And as you can see on here, some programs do require some supplementary material, but for this program specifically, we're just going to look at grades. That makes it a little bit easier. So one thing I do like to mention is I know that our application opens on October 1st, and most of you probably won't have completed any of your grade 12 courses, or maybe you've just done a few here and there. And I want to emphasize that that is okay. You can still apply right on October 1st. When you apply, we're going to take a look at your grade 11 transcripts to determine if you are admissible based on these grade 11 marks. If you do receive an offer based on your grade 11 marks, it is going to be a conditional offer. And if you don't receive an offer based on your grade 11 marks, that's totally okay. We will continue to reevaluate your application as our admission intakes goes on, as you continue to complete more classes. So kind of nice to apply early again so that we can continue to evaluate that application. One thing you can do so to maintain your conditional offer, as you can see on the screen, you're going to want to complete all those required grade 12 courses, graduate from high school, and also maintain that average. So it's not going to be the average that you applied with, but rather that mid 80 competitive average that we saw in the requirements there. So I know I have mentioned the transfer process here, so I do want to elaborate on what I mean by that transfer process. So if any of you have completed 4 or more post-secondary courses, you're actually going to be considered a transfer student. As a transfer student, we can accept up to 2 years worth of transfer credit, which you'll get a transfer credit report once you apply, submit all your required documents, things like that. But in the meantime, we're going to look at what you need to do to transfer. So the process is very similar. As I mentioned, you can still apply on October 1st, but again, we'll have to see transcripts from high school and post-secondary. The course requirements are also the same. So there's still those 5 required courses, but these can also be satisfied by post-secondary coursework. So what this means is, say you took a post-secondary English course, we'll use that grade rather than the high school grade. But if you didn't take a post-secondary English course and you have that high school English course, we'll use that one instead. Your average is going to be slightly different too. So for the BDCI, you should have our aim for a 3.3 to 3.6 on a 4.0 scale. And it's going to be based on your 10 most recent post-secondary courses. So that's the main difference on how your estimated competitive average is going to work. So finally, I just have a little bit of an overview on like important dates and things like that. I know this was a really quick description of what our admission process does look like. I also have this QR code in the top right corner. So if you do want application support, you can scan this QR code here, fill out that form, and it'll invite you to stay in touch with me personally. But it's also going to give you access to some events we hold. Our recruitment office and admissions specifically does events where we could do application support, application walkthroughs, and we do other like apply webinars, things like that. So you can learn a little bit more about how to apply specifically. But yeah, this was a nice overview of the BDCI program in general, but that's all I really have today for our application process here.
Great. Thank you, Madison. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. And that ends the formal part of the program. We've got about 20 minutes left where we can answer questions or go into any aspect of the program that is in more depth. I see that Nushin Ismaili has joined us. So hi, Nushin. Nice to see a friendly face with the with your camera on. So feel free to jump in with any answers that might come up that I don't know the answer to. And I see Andrea.
Thank you, John.
I see Andrea is here and is going to monitor the question and answers. I see we've got a couple in the chat already, but why don't you manage that? I'll turn it over to you, and I will do my best along with Madison and Nushin to ask questions. Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so while you were speaking, I received some questions. So the first one is, are there any co-op opportunities attached to this course?
Yeah, good question. A co-op is a form of work integrated learning. It's a model of work integrated learning that some universities have adopted. We looked at that and decided that we wanted a different kind of work integrated learning, one that didn't extend the amount of time for the degree. Usually a co-op will add a year or a year and a half to your degree program. What we're doing is integrating it into the structure where we have one studio where you're actually working in an office on a project that is slightly outside of the office. So for example, an architecture firm or a planning firm is being asked by a community to do some pro bono work, some free work because a community that doesn't have any money or a nonprofit or something would like some work done. Or there's a competition, an international competition that they would like to participate in, but they don't have the ability to do that internally with their employees. They would then take a group of our students to work on that. So you're actually working with a professional like a co-op, but you're doing it at a higher level than you would if you were just a co-op student. I've had a number of co-op students in my office over the years, and you get people to do the things that you can do because they need to offer a return to the projects that you're doing in the office, and that's usually a pretty low level of engagement. We believe, and we've been doing this in our graduate programs for the last 3 years, that our model of work integrated learning offers a higher level of that kind of industry engagement that a co-op does.
Thank you. And also, John, you mentioned a little bit at the beginning that there are international opportunities. And someone asked if there are international transfers available partway through the course.
International transfers, I'm not sure exactly what you mean, but we are still fleshing out some of the details. Right now, our graduate program students in architecture are able to go have the opportunity to spend a semester in Tokyo or in Barcelona, and our planning and landscape architecture students have an opportunity to go to Zurich. I'm not sure what the plan, and then there is also an opportunity to go to Los Angeles for a 1-week field trip. I'm not sure what the international opportunities are going to be for the BDCI specifically. That in any event, it wouldn't be happening until you were in your 3rd year. So that's still a few years off. So we will be having something. I'm just not sure what they will be at this point.
Thank you. And this one is for Madison. So will there be a cap of number of students for the BDCI for the fall of 2023?
So I don't have a specific number for a cap on how many students we do have. I know that we obviously do have a reserved number of seats, but I don't have exact numbers. That might be something more that John might have a bit more information on. Yeah.
I do. Yeah, our target build out is 200 students a year, but we're going to step into that as we launch the degree, and we anticipate that we'll be taking about between 60 and 70 students in the first year of the program this year for 2023.
Thank you. And we got a question from a 3rd-year Global Development Studies major in the Faculty of Arts who's considering transferring into this program. So are there any specific courses that they should be taking right now that could be transferable to the BDCI in order to be eligible to apply?
Madison, I don't understand how transfer credits work, so.
So for transfer credit, I'll send a little bit. We did just update one of our transfer credit websites for UCalgary. So I'll post that in the chat. Essentially how it works for transfer credit is we can accept up to 2 years worth of transfer credit. So you would still have to complete at least 2 years of this program at the University of Calgary. We can't really pre-assess how courses are going to transfer until we're able to see your transcripts, until you apply for admission. But I will send that transfer credit website that we do have, and that might provide a bit more clarity as well. But essentially the best way is to just apply and send us your transcripts, and then we can give a finalized transfer credit report. Hopefully that makes a bit more sense.
Thank you. And someone is asking, what if we are missing a grade 12 course in order to get admission and are graduated from high school?
Yeah, that's a great question as well. I would say for grade 12, if you have until June 30th of 2023, I think I said 2022 in the chat, but I meant 2023, to complete all required courses for admission. So my best advice would be to do some high school upgrading. You can do this at a lot of places. If you're interested in doing it through the University of Calgary, we have a great continuing education program where you can upgrade these courses, but we do need to see those 5 required courses in order to gain admission. These courses we want to see successful completion of, so we know you're going to do well in the program as well. But yeah, you have until June 30th to complete these required courses, and you can still apply right on October 1st, and we'll just reassess your application as you're completing these courses.
Thank you. There's also another question of a 2nd-year student at the Architectural Technology program at SAIT. It's a 2-year diploma, so they are asking if how many credits can be transferred from this program once they are finished.
Yeah,
Good.
so
Go ahead, Madison. I've got something to add too.
okay, for sure. All I was going to say, it'd be the same process as I mentioned for the transfer credit, is we need you to apply and to see all those transcripts, and then we'll be able to determine. I would just like to reiterate that'd be a maximum of 2 years. So 2 years is the maximum amount of transfer credit you can receive, but that's the most I have on transfer right now.
Right. We actually are looking at, we have a number of students that have come into our minor in architectural studies, which we're sunsetting as we bring the BDCI online, that have come through SAIT and NATE in those 2-year technical degrees. And so we're looking at what would actually be the transferability and what kind of credit that you would get. So I would just stay in touch with our recruitment officer in SAPL, and as time goes on, to be able to determine exactly what that is.
Thank you. There's a question as well for our students who are out of Calgary. Will any other activities be offered to learn more about the program?
I would imagine that there will be other opportunities beyond just the ones that are happening in October and November, September, October, November of this fall. What those are, I'm afraid I don't know. And our program specialist, Jen, has lost her voice and is listening in, but is not able to respond. So all I can say is to just stay tuned and watch our website to see what there is. I don't think there really can't be an online or remote substitute for the studio class or the program or the city walks, but there will be, I'm sure there will be other opportunities for the open for learning more.
Thank you. And there is a question, since the program is competitive, will it be first come, first serve, or will it be by grades?
It will be by grades.
Thank
Right,
you.
Madison?
Yeah, for the most part, it's going to be by grades. Again, it's good to apply early because then we can continue to reassess that application, but in the end, it will be by grades, yeah.
But just so I'm clear, because if you are given a provisional acceptance because you've applied early, you're not going to lose that as long as you maintain your grades, because, is that right?
That's exactly right. Yeah. So if you receive a conditional offer, if you maintain your average, complete the required courses, and graduate from high school, you're not going to lose that offer.
So if somebody comes in on the last day with 100% average, it doesn't kick the person that was the 66th person out. Okay, good.
No.
That's a good thing to remember. I didn't know that.
Yeah, because then that's another reason why it's good to apply early before the program might fill up too. So.
Okay, very good. Very good. That's not the way we do things at the graduate level. At the graduate level, we take all the applications and we look at them all, and then we rank them from 1 down to 0, or from top to the bottom, and then we figure out where our admission is. So this is very different.
Yeah, a little bit different then, yeah.
And if someone is asking, is there a list of what is accepted as the 5th course, like the optional one that completes the 5 courses?
Yes, so we do have a list of approved courses or options. It's a very lengthy list, so I'll send it in the chat and you can check out that site there.
Thank you. And someone asked, in terms of program admission, is there a preference between incoming high school students and transfer students?
No, there's no preference between high school to transfer students at all. So no, as long as we get everything we need, I would say you're good.
Thank you. And someone is asking, they are currently in urban studies at the U of C and used to go to another university. So will the credit from the other university be accredited in the application for this program?
Yeah, so when you apply, you'll still have to submit all your transcripts. Well, you won't have to submit your transcripts from U of C because we'll receive those automatically, but we'll want to see them from your previous post-secondary, and it may. So we're going to look at all your post-secondary, and some might transfer from your previous one. Obviously, the ones from U of C will most likely transfer over. But essentially I would just say submit your transcripts for both. Again, I can't pre-assess transfer credit, but we can accept up to 2 years. So say you've done a year at the University of Calgary, we're still going to assess up to a year from your other post-secondary institution. But yeah, unfortunately, I can't really say too much until you apply and we see those transcripts.
Thank you, Madison. And there's another question from a first-year student in urban studies who's doing their first term, haven't completed any of the course yet, but they are looking to apply in October as a transfer. Which grades should they write into to transfer?
Sorry, I'm just a little bit confused on the question. I was just posting the approved course and option link.
Okay, sorry. So if they're asking which grades should I write in the transfer form, I guess.
So they're an urban studies student, haven't taken, I don't think they've taken urban studies classes yet or courses.
Yeah, they are on their first term.
Okay, so I would say, and you're interested in transferring over into the BDCI, so I would take a look and see what you did in high school, because again, as a transfer student, either high school grades or the post-secondary grades can satisfy those requirements. So that's going to be, again, the English, the social studies, the math 30-1, and the science course. If you didn't take those in high school, I would look at taking like a post-secondary English course or maybe a post-secondary mathematics course. But I hope that provides a little bit more clarity. But the grades for your GPA are going to be solely based on your post-secondary coursework, not your high school coursework.
Thank you. And there's another question. Do you know if the upgrading options are offered online or remotely? So someone who needs to upgrade math, are they able to do this online or remotely? And how heavily weighted are the high school grades versus GPA from a transfer program?
So to upgrade your high school grade, so I guess before I start, I want to reiterate that as a transfer student, your grades are going to be only based on post-secondary. So if you're upgrading high school courses to upgrade your GPA, it's not going to work. You're going to have to upgrade post-secondary courses. Now, if you're doing upgrading high school grades in order to meet the requirements, so you need to complete Math 30-1, I would recommend looking at the continuing education program at U of C. It is a different department than me, so I don't know 100% if they do offer online programs, but I'll put their email in the chat and you can reach out to them. Another great one, though, is Chinook Learning Services, and then they do offer some online courses as well.
Thank you. And if there's another question, if you could speak more on the eligibility for direct entry to the Masters of Architecture program after completing this degree. John, not sure if you want to
Yes,
take that.
I can absolutely do that. So the concentration, so the degree in the Master of Architecture degree, and it's the same as the Landscape Architecture degree, is a 2-year degree. If you don't have a pre-professional degree in architecture, which is what the BDCI is, you need to take an additional year. So you take a 1-year foundation course and then 2 years. If you have a BDCI degree or a degree in design from Manitoba or UBC or Toronto and the like, you can apply directly into the first year of the 2-year degree. And as a BDCI graduate, you're eligible to do that. It is a competitive admission where you're competing against applicants from across the country to get into our school. So it is about a portfolio and grades. The good thing about the BDCI degree is that you have 8 studios of work. You also will know the faculty members because many of the faculty members who are teaching in the BDCI are also teaching in the graduate program. So when it comes to letters of reference, it's always better to have somebody who knows you and that can speak to your strengths and your potential. But there is a gateway between the BDCI and the graduate degrees that you have to apply for and be admitted into. And we take 60 students into the graduate architecture program every year. About half of those go directly in, half to 2/3 are coming directly into the first year of the 2-year degree, and the rest are coming into the foundation year.
Thank you.
Can I add something? Sorry. And also note that if you are an international student, you will probably go into the foundation as well. So the degree needs to be from Canada.
That's right.
From Canada.
That's right. Yeah. So students coming from another country with a Bachelor of Architecture degree, the typically, because of the cultural differences in building practices and cities, the way cities are, typically you go into the you go into the foundation year. But yeah.
And one more question. Will there be a minor concurrent with the BDCI? Someone has taken a few architecture courses at the U of C, and courses overlap with the program. So they were asking if the BDCI is made up of entirely new courses, or are some of them existing courses from SAP?
From our minor in architectural studies. If
Yeah.
you have completed a part of the minor in architectural studies, those courses are equivalent to many of the courses that we've got. We would have to figure that out on a one-on-one basis, what that would mean. We will continue to run the Bachelor of Design or the architectural minor for, and we will provide information on when that would be sunsetted, but we will make sure that there is adequate time for students who are currently enrolled in the minor in architectural studies to complete the minor in architectural studies without having to do the BDCI degree, if that was your concern. And basically the minor in undergraduate studies is the foundation year of the architecture program. So it's a way for you to kind of you take the foundation year during your undergrad, which is messy. And quite frankly, it's much better to have a 4-year degree where you've done 8 studios than a 1-year leveling program where you only get to do 2. And you have to learn all the visualization tools and the history of the world and everything else. Much better to stretch it out over 4 years and really get a good grounding. We find that our students who are coming from other pre-professional undergraduate degrees from across the country have a much better grounding and usually have more success in the professional degrees than those that do the 1-year leveling.
Thank you.
I noticed there was a question from someone about that they've completed an urban studies degree and they are interested in a Master of Planning. I did. Let me see if I can find that in the in here. Oh yeah, I have a BA in Urban Studies and wish to pursue a career in planning. Would this program make a good alternative to the M-Plan? No. No. If you want to be a licensed planner, you need to take the Master of Planning degree. This is a preparation for the Master of Planning, like your BA in Urban Studies is a preparation. So if you were coming into out of high school now, you would do this degree, but you are eligible with a BA in Urban Studies, you are eligible to apply to the Master of Planning, the 2-year Master of Planning program directly. And so hopefully we will see you with us next fall in the M-Plan program. Are there any other questions? I see we're at time. I suppose we should, is there one last question or are we finished?
There is one. If there is a list of required course curriculum for this degree program posted anywhere?
Yes, well, we're going through the calendar. We're going through the calendar submission process right now, which means that it will be in the official university calendar next year. But we do have an informal list that obviously we have, so we can, there will come a time when we'll be able to provide that. I would just stay in touch with our recruitment advisors, and they'll be able to provide that information as soon as it's ready.
Thank you.
All right, well, it looks like we've run out of questions, probably run out of answers a few minutes ago. I really appreciate you attending. As you can probably tell, I'm excited about this degree, and I'm very excited about city innovation and the impact that our program can make on the city of Calgary, and on cities in general in the built environment. I really encourage you to think about this, see if it's something that's a good fit, and if it is, come and attend our open house and our studio session and our city walks. And I very much hope that I'll be able to welcome you all in person next September in our inaugural class of the Bachelor of Design and City Innovation degree. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madison, for your great answers today, and thank you, Andrea, for moderating, and Nushin, thank you for just being here and for putting in that important piece of information. Good night, everybody. Take care. Stay well. Bye-bye.